Hello friends, welcome to my office for the day. Not bad, it's been such a beautiful day here today. I thought I'd do a video today on internet access and cell reception because obviously I travel Australia, I work full-time in finance, I do Teams meetings, so I have to do video calls, I do YouTube, so I have to upload a lot of videos. I'm doing 2 videos a week at the moment. So yes, here's some of my tips on how I mitigate the issues. I was using a Mason for my phone reception because they were a pretty good Australian call centre and it was really cheap, but they used the Optus network. And if anyone who lives in Australia knows, the cell reception in Australia is not that great. We have some very remote places, so it can be very hard to get reception. So Optus network is not a good network for that. The only one that you can really get good reception with is Telstra. This is certainly not promoting Telstra, I'm not a fan, but unfortunately I didn't have a choice. I really needed that reception because I travel solo, so I needed to be able to, call anyone at any time. So it did restrict me somewhat in, spending time in remote areas because there's still areas where you won't get reception. But that was fine, I learned to live with it. But what I started to find when I was working is that, and especially when I started YouTube, is that my phone would be overheating a lot. So obviously in Australia we can get into temperatures, into the low 40s degrees Celsius. And so when you're using a lot of data, you're drawing a lot of data to upload videos or do video calls, then your battery, it takes a lot out of your battery, your phone battery. So my phone was overheating to the point where I actually had to start putting it in the fridge to cool it down. So this led me to sort of investigate, a different solution. I didn't realise that what that was doing was actually reducing the life of my phone battery as well. So there's a handy hint there. So if you're just using it to do, normal searches online and things like that, it's completely fine. But yeah, when you're doing chewing a lot of data, it can become a problem. So I then went and purchased one of these. So it's just a little dongle that I got from Telstra. It cost me about $69. And what I do is I get a separate SIM card for this. I pay $10 a month for that SIM card and it's like only 10 gig or something. But what it does is they share that service with my phone plan. So my phone plan is, wait for it, I pay $99 a month and I get 300 gig. Obviously, a lot of people don't need 300 gigabytes of data per month, but because I do YouTube, I chew through a lot. So probably not that much, but because what I was doing was I was actually uploading not only videos to YouTube, but then I was uploading them to the cloud so that I could store it there. I'll come back on that in a moment though, because I've had to stop doing that because it just takes so long and it's just drawing too much data. So I'll come back with a solution on that. So yes, what it does is it combines these 2 services together on my Telstra bill. So I pay $109 a month and I get 310 gig of data. So this can still heat up quite a bit, but at least it's not damaging my phone, the battery life on my phone. So I used that for a really long time and it's been great. I still use it. I basically just use my phone data for my phone and then I set my laptop to use this little separate device. So then my next thing was, that's been great, amazing, love it, but I want to be in more remote locations. And to be really honest, there's even some spots that are still in town centres, but it might just be on the edge of a cliff or something, or even just lower down off the ground. I don't know, for whatever reason, there's just certain sort of black spots that you might get. So I might have a beautiful spot like this to work from for the day, but not enough internet access to have a Teams meeting. So sometimes I would try and do a Teams meeting and I'd have to keep my video off and just do voice because I couldn't get the reception. So that was really frustrating me. I'm all about creating more freedom in my life, so I wanted to be able to literally park up anywhere and just work for the day. So yes, let's go on to what I decided to choose for that.
Hey
the only other solution I could think of was Starlink, and I'll explain to you how Starlink works. So with your telephone reception, you're using the telephone towers, so you'll see there's big ugly towers, and that's where you're getting your reception from. So for your phone service and internet access, generally speaking. So Starlink is a reasonably new technology, been out for a few years, and it's using satellites out in outer space to get the reception. So it bounces off the Starlink up into the sky to the satellites. And if you look up at the sky at night and to see the stars, you'll see a lot of them seem to be moving because there's quite a few satellites up there. And all of this, me explaining this, is from no area of expertise, by the way. This is my very basic understanding of it. So Starlink, I looked into it a couple of years ago, and the cost actually was just way too much. I couldn't justify the cost for my needs. But yeah, I had a promotion recently at work, and I was like, I just want more freedom. I really, my YouTube channel was starting to do well, so I looked into it again. And so this was back late last year. So I think I ordered it maybe August last year. And so the actual cost of at that stage, I think the technology was different, because I've had a look online now and the hardware is a lot cheaper, and it seems to have changed the different devices they have and the plans that they have. So when I looked into it, there was the Starlink Mini, which is this one here, and you could either choose this. Now this is for roaming purposes, so you can get fixed devices for residential purposes if you're living rurally, but for roaming you had the Starlink Mini. There was another option where you could set up a different, like a standard Starlink, and that was the one I was originally looking at, but people online were saying it was drawing too much power, you needed a separate modem, and so it was like big bulky hardware, and I'm in a small space. So anyway, when I looked at it mid last year, that had come out with the Starlink Mini, and I think that is now called the Starlink Roam, because it seems to be, when I look online, that it's either the residential or the roam, which is just this one device. So this device here, when I purchased it, was $800. And when I've looked online now, it's about $550. So early adopters, we normally pay a little bit more. Now, it was a big upfront cost for me, but I'd made that decision and I really wanted to do it. So the monthly plan, I pay $80 a month and I get 50 gig of data. And that's still the case for when I've looked online now. But yes, you can buy them, I think, even from Harvey Norman now for 550 odd. So yeah, it's a lot cheaper for you now if you want to buy it. Not so much for me, because I was too keen. I have actually heard also that potentially Starlink will be partnering with Telstra, so that maybe your phones might have access to this technology in the future. So keep an eye out for that. You may not even need to buy this at all. Now, in saying that, so some of the downsides with the plan for me are that if I have unused data, it won't carry forward to the next month. So I find that a little bit disappointing. When I mentioned a MASIM earlier that I used to use on the Optus network, I loved that about a MASIM. If I didn't use the data, it would carry forward. My Telstra plan, it won't carry the data forward either. So I find that quite frustrating. So what I do is I keep monitoring my data usage. So if it's coming up to the end of the period for the month, then I will go between using my Telstra and my Starlink to try and use all that data. Some of the great things about it is obviously the cord that comes with it is really long, so that if you're parked under a tree or something, then you can put the Starlink quite far away from the vehicle, and you've got enough cord to do that. I do have it is 240 power, then it does need to be plugged into a power source to be able to use it. It doesn't have a battery life in there. However, you can get a DC power adapter for this. So if you actually want to go hiking, you could potentially take this with you if you've got a power source, like a portable power source. So I actually have a portable power source, and I might do another video on that later from my tech world. And so I could take that with me and potentially plug this in using a DC power cord. So that's kind of cool. It would be more, I think, for multi-day hikes, because when I go hiking, it's usually just for the day, and if I've got all my camera equipment, like my drone and my camera, my big zoom camera with the big lens, and my GoPro, water, food, all of that, adding this to it as well, which it might be another 1 to 2 kilos. It's got a little bit of weight to it, so that's a lot to carry. So yeah, I think maybe I do want to start doing multi-day hikes, so I may consider taking this so I do have, you know, reception all the time. So yeah, I used to, before I, oh, birds, Jeffy. Before I had my skylight put in, I would just put it up through on my roof through my side door and have the cord come through. Now I can just put it up through my skylight, which is great. It is completely waterproof. So you'll see that the cord, where it goes in, it's sealed, so no water can get in there. So yeah, you can put it out in all weather. Obviously, if it's on your roof and the cord's coming down, you might get some rain come down the cord, so keep an eye out for that. Yes, so I love it. It's just been really handy. So if I'm pulling up to beautiful places like this and I don't have reception, just put my Starlink up and I'm all happy and ready to go. So yeah, that's my review. I think it's amazing. I think the costs are coming down, so you know, potentially you might want to wait a bit longer if it's, you know, the hardware costs are still a bit too much. But I do have a special offer as well. So if you choose to buy Starlink and you use the link in my description below, then you will get a free month and I will get a free month. So just keep that in mind. If you want to do that, it will help us both out. So maybe make me claw back some of those extra costs I paid when I paid for it at $800. But yeah, well worth it if you are roaming a lot and you want reception. So the speeds are really great too, and I never have any dropouts when I use it. So yeah, winning. Now, I bought my Starlink through the actual Starlink Australia website. You can actually get them now from places like Harvey Norman, I think, and JB Hi-Fi. So just check that out so you don't have to wait. And when you get it, you get the actual Starlink device itself, which has that little kickstand on the back, so you can put it down anywhere that you like. It comes with the cord, and I think you can choose different length cords as well, 5 meters, 10 meters. That's the mounting bracket that you can use if you choose to mount it to your vehicle. You get your 240 plug, and I think you actually need to get a DC charging plug separately. I didn't come with mine, so I'll need to try and look online for that. Then you download the Starlink app, which is really easy to download. Then you need to set up your Starlink, depending on which one that you've chosen. Obviously, I got the Mini, so I've chosen that one. And then what you need to do is obviously plug in your Starlink and make sure, because it has to be plugged into a power source to be working, it doesn't have an inbuilt battery life. And then what it'll actually ask you to do on the phone app is it'll ask you to scan the sky. So you actually just need to turn around in one spot until it has scanned 100% of the sky to see where the closest satellites are, and then it'll give you a little bit of a display. See the globe there, it'll show you the best ways to set it up. So I did mention earlier that it was taking me a really, really long time to upload my data to the cloud, and it was chewing through a huge amount of data to do it as well. For some reason, it's a lot more difficult than YouTube, uploading to YouTube. And so I was uploading to Microsoft OneDrive because I had a Microsoft subscription, and I just thought Microsoft sent through an email to say that they were increasing their prices from $100 a year to $150 a year. And that really irks me. I know $50 a year is not much, but that's a massive jump when you look at percentages. So it was kind of like the kick I needed to stop uploading into the cloud, whatever you want to call it. So I've gone back to old school ways. So I've got external hard drives that I am putting my data onto, and I have a 2 terabyte hard drive here, but I wanted another hard drive just so I've got 2 backups. So I went to JB Hi-Fi, and the gentleman there actually explained to me that this is a bit more old school technology because it's got a disc inside, and there's a bit more risk that if you drop that, then it can get damaged. So he recommended one of these, which is great because it's even smaller. So that is a portable SSD device, and so I can now I think that's 1 terabyte, and I've got a couple of those, and I'm just going to get a fireproof box and keep that in the van with my hard drives in there. And I know there's a bit of risk involved with that, but that's fine. I'd rather do that than have the hassle of trying to upload to the cloud all the time, because it just takes so long and chews through so much data. So now that I'm doing that, I might be able to reduce the data usage, you know, my monthly cost with Telstra, because I don't really need that 300 gig, because I'm not uploading that to the cloud anymore. So yes, that's what I do there. Hope that helps.